But the fact of the matter is, if the model that your business is following or what you are doing is failing, then there needs to be something that you have to change. Hey, it's Gary, and I want to talk to you today about 5 common mistakes that I have seen. And it's not only just from me, but equally from my mentees as well, particularly from startup business owners, entrepreneurs, mortgage advisors, anyone really who's starting out and wanting to build a business. Because often we think that mistakes are a bad thing, but I actually think mistakes are a good thing, because it's an opportunity to learn, to grow, to make sure that you don't make them again. And I always remember a quote from my NLP training back in 2016, which was, "There is no failure, there is only feedback." And that really resonates with me, because whenever you make a mistake, whenever you get something wrong, you've got 2 choices. You can either kick yourself, you can either bitch and moan, you can complain, you can be unhappy with the results that you've got. But actually, there's some learning in there. There's something that you can do to understand how not to make that mistake again. And in taking those learnings means that you can improve, you can get better, you can grow, and second time around, things will be by far improved. You only have to look at the latest iPhone update that comes out. Every time I'm like, I am not downloading that first one, because there are going to be a load of mistakes, a load of errors, a load of problems. And then later on, out comes the next version, and actually it's much, much better and much more improved. You can often sit back and wait until you release a new product, or until you do the latest piece of content, or whatever it might well be. But actually, you're making a mistake doing that, because you could get things wrong the first time you do it. But that's going to enable you to release version 2, version 3, version 4 much, much quicker, much like they did with the iPhone and all the other stuff that's out there. And equally, I think about times in my life where actually I've been struggling or when things have been hard, and the mistakes are there to teach you something. Because every time you make a mistake, it might be in something that you don't necessarily know, or maybe you're just testing, but that gives you that opportunity to get that fast track result and that fast track growth. So number 1, when it comes for when making mistakes, I think, is not asking for help. Everybody should ask for help from at least one person, because it's much better, I've certainly learned, to make mistakes vicariously through other people than actually to go and make them yourself. From 2006 till 2016, I built a business thinking that I knew everything, not asking for help, and actually did it the hard way. And I made a lot of mistakes during that time. And it took me 10 years, what has now taken half the amount of time to achieve, because I'm learning through other people, but I spent 10 years making errors in order to now get the results that I want. And you can much better to ask for help, to get support, get coaches, get mentors, get masterminds, and be around people that are ultimately going to be better at doing the things that you want to do, so you can get the fast track results, whether it's more profit, more time, more freedom, whatever it might well be. Asking for help is probably one of the best things that you can do, and you should never feel too proud to do it, because that's going to make your life easier, which is going to have a direct impact on everybody else who's around you as well. Number 2 is doing things that you aren't great at. I spent ages trying to do everything, and more often than not, most new business owners that I speak to get into business thinking that they need to do everything, and that everybody is not going to do things as good as you. But one thing that I've massively learned this year is, if I put my energy into things that either I don't enjoy, I'm not particularly good at, and generally I'm not very good at it because I don't enjoy it, then my energy suffers. When I'm focusing on the things that I enjoy, then I actually have much higher energy. And I guarantee, in your own life, in your own journey, and within your own business, if you're focusing on things that aren't your main skill set and you aren't great at, that's going to bring down your energy levels. It's going to make you procrastinate. It's going to move things further down the to-do list. You're going to put them off, Whereas actually, in asking for help and getting somebody else to do it for you, you're going to maintain higher energy, you're going to work more in flow, you're going to get more done in less time and get quicker and faster results. Number 3 is around letting go too much. So coming back to number 2, in terms of leveraging other people and getting rid of the things that you aren't particularly good at, or things that potentially aren't even money-making tasks. Asking others for help. If you then at number 3 let go of those things too much and don't monitor and manage effectively, then that's going to have another impact. For example, I have my best mate who's my graphic designer, and he's awesome. But I just get to a point where I just bombard with emails of things that I need to get done. And actually, it's not easy for him to then track it, but equally it's not easy for me to then track what I've sent to him. So then having a system, Trello or Asana as another example, something like an app or a system or a software that can manage both of you, will make it easier to you to let go. Because if you let go too much and you don't measure and monitor and manage, then actually you're going to struggle. People management is not one of my core skills. It takes a particular type of person to manage people on a day-to-day basis and be on their case to a degree. And I tried to do that for almost 10 years, and it was probably one of my biggest mistakes. Whereas in actual fact, you need somebody, in terms of letting go of things that you're not good at and asking for help, who can actually make sure that those things are done in the way in which they need to be done, and that you're not letting go of absolutely everything. And when you are letting go, that it's being monitored, measured and managed. Number 4 is about going wide. Instead of going wide, go deep. Because the mistake is, if you go wide on your knowledge, let's pick business for example, and everybody says about reading multiple different business books. You could read 10 books on 10 different subjects. You are not going to get expertise, you are not going to become pro, you're not going to get better unless you go deep on one particular subject. So actually thinking about, what is it I want to learn? What is the result that I'm looking for? Actually reversing that. What is the result and the outcome that I want? What is it that I need to learn in order to get that result and that outcome? And rather than just throwing paint at a wall and seeing what sticks, go deep on the learning. Pick that one subject, read all the books, read all the audio books, listen to all the audio books, get on the podcasts, Google it, YouTube it, whatever. But going deep on one particular subject is going to be by far better than going wide and trying to get a broad knowledge initially. As your knowledge grows, you can then start to span out. But that's going to have a direct response. That's going to have a direct impact on the results that you're going to get. So going deep is by far better. The mistake is going wide. Number 5, finally, is don't be afraid of change. I think everybody is afraid of change in some point in their life, but the mistake is fearing change. And the reason why I say that is particularly in my own circumstances. Often we hear the saying, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But what about the reverse of that? If it is broke, fix it. Because more often than not, a lot of business owners and a lot of mentors that I've been around say, stay in your lane. And it's really, really good to stay in your lane. And you're not going to become an overnight success. It takes years, it takes dedication, it takes commitment, it takes consistency. You need to focus on one thing for long enough until you get the result. But the fact of the matter is, if the model that your business is following or what you are doing is failing, then there needs to be something that you have to change. And that equally could be a person in your team that is causing the problem or stopping you from going to that next level. I've experienced that within my own business, and it could be something that you're experiencing in yours as well. It's so important to focus on the things that get the fastest results. And that literally leads into these 5 things, which I'll recap for you now. And that is, number 1, the mistake is not asking for help. Number 2, the mistake is doing things that you aren't great at. Number 3 is letting go too much. It's a massive mistake. You need to monitor, measure and manage. Number 4, the mistake is going wide on your knowledge rather than deep on your knowledge. And to reference that a little bit further, think about my kids or your own children in your circumstances. They're not constantly trying to do loads of things at once when it comes to learning. Now, initially, when you think about when they're younger, some of them talk more than others. Some of them walk quicker than others. Some of them learn to write faster than others. But the one thing that I would say is what my mum said to me, and is that by the time they all get to about 2 or 3, generally they can all do exactly the same things. They're out of nappies, they're walking and running, they're beginning to talk, they're feeding themselves, etc., etc. But not everybody can do all of those 5 things at once, or those 4 things at once. They start on one, they get good at one, and slowly but surely they add to it. So actually understanding, going deep on specific particular subjects is going to get you better and faster results. And then number 5 is fearing change. The mistake is fearing change. I absolutely love change. I love the chance to improve. I love the chance to adapt, to make something work that isn't necessarily working, finding the problems and creating the solutions. And more often than not, we can actually get stuck where we are, not moving forward with the people on our teams that we've currently got, which stops us from being able to grow and get the results that we want in our life, in our business, and for those people that are actually working for us. Because all of these mistakes can often be mistakes of people that you employ or you work with. If the team aren't asking for help, that's going to have a direct impact on the jobs that they can do. If they're not doing things that they enjoy day in, day out, then their energy is going to be low, and that's going to get less results for you and your business. If they're delegating and passing things on and letting go of stuff too much without monitoring, measuring and managing it, then the business isn't going to be able to go forward. As you grow, your team should grow, which means that they've got to let go of certain things, but what they're taking on as new tasks, they need to go deep on the new tasks, because if they don't continue to learn, then they're going to continue to struggle. And equally, they need to know when within their departments and their areas of expertise, when they need to either stick with what they're doing or they need to change it, and they need to not fear change, and they need to make sure that everyone around them and the culture within the business or the environment or the team is not fearing change as well. So they're things that I've addressed or looked at, particularly within my own business, my own life, that I hope they're mistakes that you're not going to make. Surrounding yourself with people who have made a lot of mistakes is a way in which you can fast track your success, because it's much better and much easier, and you'll get quicker results if you learn from those who are 3 or 4 steps ahead of you, who have already made the mistakes that you potentially could go and make, because then you're not going to make them, which might save you money. It's definitely going to save you time, and it's going to make your life so much easier. So I'd love to hear the mistakes that you have potentially made. You can obviously leave a comment below. You can come and hit me up on Instagram and let me know the mistakes that you've been making, or ones that you think are key that other people should avoid. I'd love to get your feedback as always, but thanks very much for tuning in, and remember, now is the time to become pro.